NFL Survivor pools look simple. Just pick one team to win every single week. But if you're not using data, you're basically donating your entry. So I'm going to do what I do every year. And we're going to talk about the 3 pillars of NFL Survivor. The strategy, we're going to look at teams that you should use early, teams that you should save. I'll show you the tools that you should use to make your life a whole lot easier. And then I'll show you where you can play with me in a private contest and also play for $2.5 million, where to do that online because this is taking off like crazy. So let's jump into it. The best part about NFL Survivor is that it reminds me a lot of PGA One and Done. It can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. You can wake up on Saturday morning and just pick a team that you think is going to win this week and move on and spend 5 seconds on it. Or you can run thousands of simulations and models and plan out your season and make adjustments and all of that. And the goal is still the same: win and advance. You can only pick each team once, which means you've got to be strategic about how you are going to use them. And there are a couple of really big mistakes that people make. I've narrowed it down for this year. I think there's 2 big things that people mess up: knowing the rules of your pool and playing your pool. There is a huge difference between playing with 10 of your friends in a local NFL Survivor or playing with 20,000, I'm not exaggerating, 20,000 people online in a very large NFL Survivor, or maybe doing, the Circa Survivor or anything like that. There is just, all of these are completely different, and your strategy should change based on what your rules and your pool league looks like. The other thing is simply not planning ahead. I'll relate this to PGA One and Done a lot. It's not as easy in PGA One and Done to plan ahead because you don't know if a guy is going to get hot or not even play a week in advance. But with the NFL schedule, like, we know obviously who everyone is playing every single week. And if you are not planning ahead, you're kind of losing out. And I know what you're going to say, but Rick, you just have to win and move on. Survive in advance, survive in advance. No, not really. I mean, listen, to win one of these, you're going to have to be nearly perfect, if not perfect, right? So giving up a lot of win equity or EV in the short term just to make yourself feel good about not going out in week 1, week 2, or week 3 doesn't matter. Because if you go out in 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, if you're not the last man standing, it doesn't matter. So you have to plan this all out. You have to be perfect. You have to embrace a little bit of that. So there's just a couple of simple things that you can do to really give yourself an edge. And listen, I'm not an NFL guy. You guys know that, but I'm good enough at math and good enough at game theory and good enough at finding the tools to use that I'm going to have an edge in this, and hopefully you will too. So the 2025 NFL schedule is really interesting. Let's look at this and figure out some starting points. All right, so this is from Pool Genius, and I'll talk about the tools later, but I'm just going to use this to kind of show you some examples here. So for every single week, you're going to have a couple of really good options. They're probably going to kill me for showing this, but I have a good relationship with those guys, so hopefully they'll forgive me. So every week we've got to figure out a team, right? And starting to look at some of this, and again, I am not a football guy, but it looks like Arizona is going to be a pretty popular option in week number 1. They're playing at New Orleans, and they are 6-point favorites. I'm recording this about 2 weeks before the NFL season starts. Things are going to change. Things are going to change throughout the year. That's the big part of this, which is why having a planner is a big deal. So they are the only team that, based on market implied odds, based on the money line, based on what Pool Genius thinks, that they are over 70% to win. Or I'm sorry, that's not true. Denver also is, and actually Denver, Philadelphia, Arizona are all over 70%. But this column over here on the right is critical. It's future value. How many games in the future is Arizona going to be a significant favorite? According to this, probably not a lot. How many is Philadelphia going to be a big favorite or a sizable favorite? A lot. So they have a 2.7 future value. That's a pretty big number. The best teams in the league, you're going to see Philadelphia, Buffalo, I'm sure, Baltimore, I'm sure Kansas City are going to have good future values because they're going to be favored in basically every game they play. And then Denver is basically in the middle. They are about half the future value of Philadelphia, but about 3 times more than Arizona. So the goal is, the ultimate goal every single week would be to pick the team that is most likely to win now that does not have much future value. Okay, Rick. Well, how are we going to figure that out? So, the season view. This is why, I don't think you can do this yourself, quite honestly. Maybe you can. I don't know. If you're a big football guy, maybe you can do this. But the fact that every game is already loaded in here and what the future odds are, these are going to change. So really, I mean, I'm hoping the Pool Genius guys, you're not mad at me, because this changes all the time, right? You're going to log in every week and you're just going to try, like, if who's the quarterback in Arizona? Kyler Murray. If he gets hurt, that's going to impact a lot of this other stuff. If Green Bay is better than anticipated, this is going to change stuff. So, this is 2 weeks out, but the idea is the same. So Arizona looks to be like they're going to be what I would consider a sizable favorite 3 times this year: week 1, week 2, and week 5. So if you have gotten through week 5 and you have not used Arizona yet, that is probably a mistake, because they're going to be dogs the rest of the way. And they're going to be pretty sizable favorites against Carolina, at New Orleans, and against Tennessee, according to this. Now, look at Jacksonville on the other hand. Jacksonville really does not get their biggest value spots until weeks 14, 15, and 18. Those are the only 3 times all year they are over 60% to win their game. So using Jacksonville earlier than that is probably a mistake, except it's close on Carolina week 1, but weeks 2 to 13, you probably should not be using them based on the numbers that we have right now. That is a huge difference, right? So that's just 2 teams to look at, Arizona and Jacksonville. Well, now you start to go through this and say, okay, there's 32 teams. We've got to find the best path to a perfect season. That's what we're shooting for, right? We're going for a perfect season. It's not going to happen, but you're going to try to get pretty close to that. Maybe it will, but you're going to try to get close to that. And you've got to work in buys and all that fun stuff. So that's why I like this grid and being able to plan it out. Then you see teams, like Buffalo. You could basically pick Buffalo every single week, except week 1 against Baltimore, and vice versa, because Baltimore and Buffalo are going to be pretty sizable favorites in every single game. That's why they are ranked very, very low in week 1, because those are teams that you want to hang on to. So we've got to get through 18 weeks now. Sometimes we've got to get through multiple weeks. We've got to start figuring out our pathway to the perfect season. That is where I go to the season planner. Now, this is where things start to get really crazy. So we're going to do this together. I did this a couple of years ago. I don't know if I did this in last year's video. I did this a couple of years ago, and the teams, I put in one entry 2 weeks before the season started and just ran, just like whatever that entry said I was going to do. I didn't make any adjustments in the season. It did pretty well. It's probably not advised. You should be making more adjustments based on the information that's coming through. But what you could conceivably do here is plan out your entire season right now. So, let's just do this together really quick. So week 1, I'm looking for teams that are heavily favored in week 1 that are not going to be big favorites moving forward. We already discussed this. It's Arizona. After week 5, they're pretty worthless as of this point. So boom, we're picking Arizona. And as I do this, you're going to start to see the percentages that you survive the week and that your entry is still live to survive the season. This is in my pool, my league, my rules. We'll talk about more about that in a second. So let me look at week 2. Well, okay, Baltimore, probably don't want to waste Baltimore in week 2 because they're going to be pretty heavily favored throughout. Same with Buffalo. San Francisco, probably the same. So to me, I look at Minnesota, right? 66% Minnesota in week 2, and they might be a favorite in week 5 and week 11 and week 16, but not a ton. So I think I could conceivably go with Minnesota here. Now, so that goes 48% that I have survived the first 2 weeks. I could get freaky here. This is why I love playing around with this. I could get freaky and pick Dallas here. So Dallas and Minnesota are close enough to get me to survive through week 2. But after Dallas plays the Giants in week 2, that might be it for them. They have like no more future value after that. Minnesota at least gets to play Cleveland in week 5. You could come back to them. So let's go Dallas or Minnesota in week 2. I'm fine with that. Week 3. Is this just Seattle against New Orleans and then maybe one other week that they're a favorite? Tampa Bay you could save. Okay, so I think this is pretty clear. We're going with Seattle here in week 3. Week 4, Houston looks like a decent option. The Rams look like a decent option. 68% against Indianapolis. They'll be fair. I'm assuming New Orleans stinks. They every time somebody gets to play New Orleans or the Giants, it's just bright green. So I'm assuming they're going to stink. We could go Miami here. So Miami or LA. Miami is 61% to beat the Giants, or excuse me, the Jets. LA is 68% to beat Indianapolis. Both teams are getting a little bit of future value. This is it. I mean, I'll just go. I don't need to grind over this for the purpose of this video, but let's go with Miami. So right now, Arizona, Dallas, Seattle, Miami. I'm 20% to get through those 4 weeks. It's pretty good. This is hard. Week 5. I think this is where we use Minnesota now because they're going to play Cleveland, and then that's basically going to be it for them. So we go Minnesota in week 5. Week 6, Vegas. I guess Tennessee stinks too. 61% there. You could go a little bit higher if you wanted to go. This is the run, the middle of the season where Denver becomes pretty valuable. 6, 7, 8, 10 for Denver. We could go there. Let's go Denver. Week 7, the Bears become an option because they're playing the Saints. And they have just a couple of games. Like, geez, the Giants must stink. Cleveland must stink. Let's go there. We're only going to get an option to use the Bears. Very few throughout the year. We're going to go with the Bears. 77% to beat New Orleans. Week 8. New Orleans is viable. Just kind of looking through this. If you wanted to get freaky. So again, I'll show you how this tool works when it looks at like if you were in a very big, like 20,000 people, 10,000 people, 1,000 people, you might want to go with Indianapolis here because it would be a little bit riskier for week 8. But then if you survived that, you'd get to keep a lot of these teams that have better future value. The other thing is, we won't even know. So this tool will also bring in pick popularity. So when as it gets closer to each week, we'll be like, oh my God, Arizona is going to be the most popular selection in week number 1. Is it still worth taking them? Or, hey, these two teams are just as likely to advance. One of them is 40% owned. One of them is 10% owned. So it'll also give you that information too. So we'll know, and then based on how many entries we have in our league, what we should actually be doing. Week 9, this is kind of fun. Week 9, this might be Pittsburgh because they are not going to be a green again until week 15. Oh, you know what the other thing is? I did screw this up one year. I tried to get really cute and I didn't play the best teams. I just kept saving them, and never used them. So at some point, we are going to need to use Buffalo. We are going to need to use, Baltimore and whoever else these good teams are. I've screwed this up in the past. So actually, this tool will not let you do. So actually, watch this. If I plug in Philadelphia, I don't have to go in order. If I plug in Philadelphia for week 15 against Las Vegas, if I plug in Buffalo at Miami week 10, where's like, okay, Kansas City week 12, Indianapolis, that's 77%. I could just take the highest numbers, right? Detroit 72 at Dallas, Baltimore 77 at I could just do this way. This is actually probably a better way to do it. So I've used what I think are the best teams. I don't really know who I might be missing here. You could go Chargers in week 13. Week 16 then leaves you Houston. Week 17, look at that, Washington. And then week 18, Cincinnati. Did I miss anybody really good? I don't know. But look at that. That is giving me a 0.2% chance to go perfect. I have a 1% chance to get through 13 weeks It's honestly pretty good. Arizona, Dallas, Seattle, Miami, Minnesota, Denver, Chicago, Indy, Pitt, Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, the Chargers, the Lions, Philadelphia, Houston, Washington, Cincinnati. There might have been somebody I missed using, but okay, that's pretty good. Now, a lot of this depends on the weekly stuff, the ownership, and your contest. So what I did already is and this is what you saw first, is I loaded in my RickRunGood Splash Survivor. So if you want to get in that, I'll put the link in the description. I'll talk about that in just a second. I'm getting ahead of myself again for a second time. So when I load that in here, I put in all of the information and said, okay, there's going to be 100 people in it. That was mostly a guess. It'll probably be more than that. And then based on this information, it'll give me options for each one of my entries, what my best option is, my second best option, my third best option. And then I will, be able to click through, and I can do the same thing. I can look for the season. I can plan out my whole year. It knows my rules. So it knows that there's buyback. So for example, I'm going to bounce around a little bit here. So this is my Splash contest, which is invite only. You're not going to find this on the Splash lobby. If you want to get into it, go for it. It's a $50 entry. There are $100 buybacks, which I guess a lot of them are doing now. But Splash is also going to have the massive, massive, massive Survivor, which is this one right here. So this is a $2.5 million guarantee, no matter if they fill it or not. It's going to have like 18,000 people in it if it fills. Winner take all for $2.5 million. So this is a very different strategy compared to what we're going to do in the RickRunGood one, which, will have maybe a couple hundred people in it. Highly recommend that you customize your settings. If you want to get into either one of these, the link is in the description. I'll link you directly to it. You can check it out. Splash, we use them for all of our one and done. We use it for our weekly golf contests. They're legal and regulated in 40 plus states and most of Canada. The fact that this is all online now is crazy. And it's created a situation where you can get $150 buy-in for a $2.5 million first prize. That's absolutely bonkers. So just for comparison's sakes, let's add another pool, another league. So what you're able to do here, and we'll just call this 2.5 million Splash, is you go through here. So this is why these tools are important. If you need to know because you need to know what your rules are, and do you allow strikes? Do you allow buybacks? Are there weeks where you have to make multiple picks? That's very popular now. And this year, Pool Genius does do a lot more on the multiple pick weeks. So this big Splash contest, you have to start making multiple picks in week 11. You have to start picking two teams. So what is that? 1, 10, and then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's 8, 16. So you're going to pick 26 teams out of 32? Yeah, I mean, you're going to want a little bit of help doing that. So the Pool Genius, it knows that, right? Does it extend into the playoffs? Does it have a tiebreaker? It's going to ask you all this stuff. If you're using, you can use the same thing if you're doing it against the spread, which is kind of sick. Oh, I can't even put in. Oh, I'm going to have to email my Pool Genius guys on this. The highest they'll do is 10,000. Well, Splash thinks they're getting 18,000. All right. And how many entries are you playing in this pool? Let's say 5. What is the entry fee? 150. What week does your pool start? Week 1. A tie is a loss. Yes. And then I can say from weeks 11 on, we are making 2 picks. So I'm putting in all of this information so that it can give me the most accurate pathways and information to the top. I'm doing it on Splash. And double check my things. And there we go. Oh, I like this. These are hard to win. So the chances of winning a 10,000 person pool, if you are an expert, which is 3 times as a skill level as the average entry, you will win the pool once every 667 years. Listen, let's set expectations. I'm cool with that. So now if we go here, you'll see I have my Splash Survivor and I have my $2.5 million survivor. It asks you when you're going to pick your game. It just takes care of everything. Okay. So now, as we go through here, these are going to be different as information comes in and as people get eliminated each week. So each week, I think it asks you how many teams survived, and you'll plug in, 7,000 survived. And you're going to get updated information about, Denver has a win rate of 74%, and they're going to be picked at 19%. And Arizona's going to be picked at 14%. But Cincinnati, fairly risky, 65% to win, but only 6% of the public pick rate. Like, that's the stuff. That's the good stuff right there. Oh, they already have popularity in here. I must have missed that in the first session. So really, really good. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about Full Genius all the time. I'm big. They've been doing it for a long time. They've been doing it for like 20 years. I use them for all my March Madness and NFL Survivor and one and done stuff. I collabed with them on their one and done tool. I just met up with Tom, their founder, in Memphis a couple weeks ago. He's such a good dude. They've been doing this for a long time. They really get it. So I would not use it or recommend it if I didn't use it myself. The other thing is they give us a discount. So it's anywhere from like 10 to 50% off. So I'll put the link in the description there for Rick Run Good. It's all the stuff that you need will be in the description. I do want to look at this real quick. So they have the Survivor Optimal Path tool. If I say, I've never done this before, or at least I haven't done it in a year, so I don't remember. Okay, so optimal future picks. So this is going to create, so I guess instead of me clicking through the season planner, this is just going to create it. So pool starts week 1, uses multiple picks. I just did that. I think it's actually week 11 it starts. No buys. I picked what entry I am. Show optimal future picks. Generating. Please be patient. I love that. They're simming this, right? They're simming all the entries. Okay. What happened? Oh, here it is. Okay. Wow. Max expected winnings. Max expected value. Oh, okay. So here we go. Oh, we were pretty close to this. We using Minnesota in week 5. That was the right play. I think we did that. And then here's, you get to get the double weeks. Okay. So the optimal path, I think we were only at like 1% to get through week 8. This gets us up to 10% to get through week 8. I'm pretty sure if I remember that correctly. This is max survival. Oh, so like, I do like this, right? You can kind of take different paths. Like, hey, I want just the absolute optimal, even if I get knocked out in week 1 or week 2, I don't care. Or this one, which starts with Denver, Baltimore, Seattle, Buffalo. You're using some of the better teams earlier. This is max survival. Just like get me through as long as possible, even if my EV is not as good. And you can see your chances of getting through week 10 are 7% instead of 5.5%, which in this really, really matters. Okay, interesting. That's cool. I assume that's going to be changing all the time. The other thing, and lastly, again, I will show you this. The big splash one and done is 2.5 million guaranteed. I would suggest getting in that one and in this one, which is, this is the private contest. Okay. So this is our $50 private contest. Rick Run Good and Second Cut, which is a golf podcast that I host. This is just for, you can't find this in the lobby. So the only way to get it is in the link in the description, which I will leave. And that'll give you access to this one. It should be a lot of fun. We'll track it all year long, talk about it on the podcast. It'll be cool. But I think that's it. It's fun. It's a cool math problem. It's a cool little puzzle. I'm excited. Let me know who is most likely to knock us out of this thing. Is it Minnesota in week 5? Is it Arizona in week 1? Last year, there was absolute carnage. I think like 70% of everyone was done in the first 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. So cool. Well, I guess that'll do it. Good luck. See ya.